Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Adam and I talk about all things luxury, fashion and style. So if that's something that you're interested in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. So in today's video, I am going to do Meredith's from Living Luxe with Meredith's tag video of inside the YouTube studio. So Meredith started this wonderful tag where we would answer a series of questions, and just to kind of give an insight into YouTubers' lives and what interests them and what they get up to, because like Meredith said, we tend to focus a lot naturally about all things luxury and fashion, which is great because that's why you're here. But I think it's a great idea to give you guys an opportunity to learn about us YouTubers and who we are and what interests us. So I'm going to go through many of the questions that Meredith's put in her video, and hopefully it's interesting for you guys. Okay, so I've got all my questions in my Remarkable too, so I'm going to keep referring I'm going to keep referring to this as I go through the questions, just because I've got some dot points to help me get through it. So with the first question, which design house or houses have made the greatest impact on your fashion choices or purchases? So with this one, I think it's quite clear to me which house has had the biggest influence, and that's Gucci. I think my first entry into the luxury fashion world was Gucci, which was my, it's like the grey black Gucci messenger bag for men. It was my first purchase, and I have, for some reason, a real affinity to things that bring about nostalgia, and Gucci for me is really nostalgic. The way its designs are just something that draw me or take me to the 70s and the 80s, and I have a real affinity to the 70s disco era and just the fun, love and freedom that the 70s represented. And I think Gucci really encapsulates that in its design and its GG print. So I do have a real love and passion for Gucci for that reason. It's really funny because I do like a lot of the other brands, and it's not because Gucci was the first one that I purchased that's really the deciding factor. It really is the fact that I have this affinity for that era, and Gucci really gives me that. So it just takes me there, and I feel like because of that nostalgia, it just draws me in more and more. And I think it's particularly because of Alessandro Michele as the creative director that has really captured me with that, because he's drawn from the archives of Gucci to really build on the brand and create his designs. And I'm hoping that continues, because if he decides to flip it and become more modern and forward with the designs, then it might mean that I am not as drawn to it because it's not so nostalgic anymore. But those things happen. But at the moment, I can definitely say that the fashion house that's had the greatest impact on my choices and just what I'm drawn to is definitely Gucci. The second question that I've got here is, when you dress for the day or an event, is there a message or impression that I'm trying to convey? So in relation to getting ready for my day, I think this is an interesting one. I think the main motivation for me is that I'm wanting to convey that I will dress how I want and hopefully show a point of difference in the way that I dress, to have a bit of a flair or something that just kind of is a little different than just your normal everyday male dress. So I work in the corporate world, and when I go to work, I do tend to have quite a simple aesthetic. I wear black or blue, navy blue chinos with business shirts being white, pink, blue, and it's quite simple, like a typical male corporate attire. I think for me, what tends to make me stand out a bit more is my luxury bags, because yes, there's a lot of men, more and more these days, entering the luxury world, and you see men in the CBD that have Louis Vuitton briefcases or Gucci briefcases or Fendi briefcases, but they are very masculine in the way that they look. I tend to lean more towards not necessarily feminine, but they kind of break that mold of being masculine or feminine. So I have a large Gucci tote, which I've only seen once in the Brisbane CBD. So I do feel that's a point of difference for me. And I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm paving the way or trying to be this martyr, but I definitely like to add a pop or have something that makes me stand out a little bit more. And for me, going to work, I have my business clothes are very simple, and it's my bags that really add to it, and those are the things that excite me in getting ready for my day. Weekends are a bit more fun and exciting because I might be able to put on a pop of colour or wear something that's a bit more risque or something like that. And so I think for me, a message or impression that I'm trying to convey is that I like to go outside the mould as a male, and try and have something that's a bit more exciting and a point of difference. The third question, what turns you on creatively? So this one I struggled a little bit with, but I think what I've learnt over time is that I'm definitely someone who is drawn to clean lines and very much a monochromatic person when it comes to my styling. I love colour blocking. I like my darker colours like black, but it's not a colour, browns and shades of beige and things like that are definitely the way that I have always traditionally gone. I think over the past year, I've started to dab a lot more into colours and trying to explore a little bit more beyond what I normally do. But I think I'm definitely drawn to clean lines. I like things that are uninterrupted, and things like that. But in saying that, like I mentioned, I'm really keen to start exploring more with colour. So I'm wearing, I recently bought an oversized pink shirt that I really love. It's very vibrant. I'm wearing more jeans these days, and I have a number of different colours. I've got black, I've got very light shade of blue, I've got a traditional shade of denim, and things like that. Like you would have seen on my ASOS haul if you watched it, that I bought a quite out there blue see-through top. So I'm definitely exploring and trying to be a bit more different in the way that I style myself, and not just stick with my monochromatic or neutral based clothing style, because I think I'm just changing a little bit and wanting to try different things. I also think as well, and I agree with Meredith on this one, so versatility definitely is a draw point for me when it comes to things like luxury handbags. I definitely love versatility. For example, my Foray Lepage Caliber 21 bag, while it is a smaller size bag, you can wear it crossbody, you can hold it top handle when you put the chain away, you can also fold the chain through to make it a shoulder bag. For me, that's quite versatile, and you can wear it in different ways, and I love that. I think that's really great. So versatility and getting, I guess, value for money is definitely something that draws me into the way that bags are designed. So the fourth question, what turns me off creatively? So I am definitely I'm not drawn to things that are big and over the top in terms of fashion. I don't like puffy things. The best example I can use is Balenciaga. majority of their ready to wear in particular, I am not a fan of. Big baggy jeans and pants have this big thing with Balenciaga. You might have seen Kylie Jenner posting on Instagram not long ago with very baggy, oversized denim jeans that were Balenciaga. And I just find it really ridiculous, in my opinion, and not something that I see myself wearing. And yeah, I just don't like over the top. I don't like things in like silver. I particularly don't like Versace sunglasses. I have owned a pair, and that was quite recent, and I ended up selling them because I just did not enjoy the aesthetic, the bright gold color. Just, yeah. And there's a particular person that can wear those types of items, and it's definitely not me. It's not my aesthetic. So yeah, I think that kind of turns me off creatively, is Versace sunglasses, but also things that are big and ridiculously oversized. My fifth question is, how do you celebrate big events or achievements in life? So I would definitely say that my big achievements that I've accomplished I would celebrate with my partner first. We might go and have a nice, lovely dinner and celebrate, drink some bubbles. And depending on what it is, if it's quite major, I might go and buy myself something. And maybe in the luxury space, I'll go and buy myself something there to congratulate myself and for hard work paid off. And I might also celebrate with my family as well, and go visit them and celebrate that way. The sixth question, who or what inspires me in everyday life? So I think this question I really mulled over a bit, and I think for me, I draw inspiration from many different people, and I think it's something that's built over time. It's not something like that's evolved, or I have new people now that I didn't have. Well, I would have new people now that I didn't have 5 years ago. But I think there's like a culmination of all these people over time and things that they've done for me, or watching them do what they do has definitely had an impact on me. So it's difficult for me to pinpoint anyone in particular, but I must say that I have a number of women professionally and personally in my life who are hardworking, and just watching a lot of the mothers who have 3 children, for example, have a full-time professional career, and balancing that with a partner I just find mind-boggling, because I am a gay man with a partner. We don't particularly at this stage have intentions of having children. We have a little dog, Lola, as you know, and for me, balancing all of that is enough. So I find it really admirable and inspirational for these women to be balancing so much in their lives. I can't imagine having to come home from my busy day at work to some children who definitely would be exciting and make you happy, but to have to feed them and clean them and make sure the house is in order, that's just a lot for me. So I find it really inspirational that people can balance all that and still put on a brave face, put on a smile, and get on with it. So, and that includes my mother, seeing what she's had to balance and go through in her life and raising me and my sister, watching other mothers in my professional life that I'm surrounded by, managing their children and their careers. It's just, yeah, and it's an inspiration for sure. The next question, so what traits or attributes attract you to other people? So I think for me, and I imagine there's a lot of repetition with this, but I am definitely attracted to people who are caring, passionate, and they have to have a good sense of humour as well. I think often we all get caught up in the busyness of life and the seriousness that we tend to portray in life. And I think having a good sense of humour, it really allows us to break down those barriers, learn to just enjoy ourselves and have fun. So those are definitely attributes that I think are very important, and not pulling people down, which takes me to my next one. So what traits or attributes in people turn you off? So I think ignorance, like Meredith mentioned, and just blatant ignorance is a real turn off. Yeah, I think people who just refuse to listen to other people's perspectives, or at least understand other people's lives, or put their feet in other people's shoes and grow their beliefs or develop their beliefs, is just really agitating and frustrating, that people decide to just mellow in their own ignorance. And that's something that I can't tolerate. I find it really frustrating. And that's both in a personal context, but also professionally. The number of conversations I've had with people about mental health, and I think there's the older generations still have a particular view on mental health and the need for people to toughen up. And it's interesting to hear those perspectives, because I think they're dated, and those people who still hold those views obviously haven't had the ability to educate themselves or listen to other perspectives, and that's disappointing to me. Other things, overly competitive in everyday life. I can appreciate that in a professional setting, people definitely get competitive. I have been in 2 industries that are very competitive in nature. I tend to be on the softer side, even professionally, when it comes to competitiveness. I tend to compete with myself. I like to better myself and achieve things that I haven't been able to achieve independently. And of course, that can impact a team that I might be working in, but I don't tend to pit myself against other people professionally, but also and most definitely not personally. I don't like that people say, I've got this thing, or I've got this, I've got a house and you don't, or I hate that stuff. I don't think it's productive. I don't think it's helpful. Everybody lives different lives, and I really don't like how people can be competitive in just your normal everyday life. I think it can be toxic and can sometimes isolate yourself, and people won't be drawn to you if you're always like that. So, and the other one is just pure nastiness and bullying in general. I'm just not about that, and there's no reason why you should be like that to anybody. The next question: 5 adjectives that describe me. So with this one, I have selected friendly, at least I hope so, ambitious, so I am rather driven, both in my personal endeavours but also professionally, and it wanes and it peaks and troughs, like most of us. I think I'm quite caring and pretty empathetic, to the point where I might take on too much of other people's issues or what they're going through. So friendly, ambitious, caring, self-confident. I'm definitely quite self-confident, and diligent. I definitely do my homework. I definitely check everything and go over things. I think it's just built in me as a trained lawyer. So that's certainly an important adjective for me to put out there. The next one is my favourite word. So I've selected spontaneity. So I've picked this word because I think what it represents is something really important in our lives. I think it makes life really fun when you're spontaneous and just choose to do something just because and out of the blue. Because I think in life we tend to get caught up in our routine and things can get a bit mundane. And I think being spontaneous really keeps you alive and keeps you honest, to be honest. So yeah, that was my favourite word. The next one is my least favourite word. I'd have to go with moist. I don't like that word. The next one, a noise that I love. I've put down the sound of a coffee machine that's making my coffee because I'm a big coffee lover. I love my morning coffee. Don't get between me and my coffee. The next one, a noise that I hate. I absolutely can't stand people chewing with their mouth open when they're eating. It drives me mad. People just please close your mouth when you chew and don't make noise. It's just really agitating and that really frustrates me. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? So growing up, apart from my current profession or my previous, I have always been interested and fascinated by aviation. So I would have to say an airline pilot, because as a child I just loved aviation. I would collect the model planes that you could get for the airlines. I would collect all the fighter jets that you would see in the Air Force and things like that. And I just had a real love and passion for aviation. So I would definitely have to say an airline pilot would be one that I would love to explore. The next one, what profession other than your own would you not like to attempt? I would have to say being in the medical profession, or being a doctor, a surgeon in particular. That's because I'm really not good with medical issues, but also just blood and gore, and yeah, I just can't see myself ever being comfortable with that, and wanting to, having to be a surgeon and cut people is just not for me. So that's definitely a big one. The next question, the most formative challenges that I have overcome. So this one's not like a traumatic or anything huge that I've had to overcome in my life, but it's definitely one that's been very formative in my life. And while I was at university, I decided to go over and live and study as an exchange in Germany. And this was 2 years after starting my university studies, and I actually hadn't been overseas at this point. So I had organised and booked with my law school to go over to Germany and study some subjects in English. Can't speak German. I know minimal German. And I had not travelled overseas at this point by myself. So, or lived on my own. At this stage, I still lived with my parents while I was studying, and it was incredibly daunting. My luggage also got lost on the way to Germany. So, that was a fun exercise in itself. And I think this was a real formative time for me, because I was already raised to be quite independent, but having to travel and live and study overseas for some time really made me quickly become even more independent and have to fend for myself, adapt to a new culture, learn to speak parts of the language to get by. So that was a real formative thing for me, and I think it has molded me to be the man I am today. Had I not gone on that exchange, and I subsequently went on a second one to Turkey as well, in Istanbul. Had I not done those, I don't know if I would be the incredibly confident and strong-headed person that I am today. Because I think it is very formative. I returned from Germany and moved out of my parents' home within 2 weeks of returning, because I really came into my own. I really found myself by going and having that experience. So yeah, I think that was definitely the most formative challenge for me in my life. The next question, 5 people, dead or alive, that I want to have dinner with. So I have picked Barack Obama as my first one. I just love Barack Obama. I think he was a great president, despite all the criticism he might receive. I think he seems, at least, to be a great person. I studied law and politics at university, so I have a real affinity and interest in global politics in particular, and I think Barack Obama was someone I studied intensely and have a real interest in, so I would love to have dinner with him and sit down and discuss all things politics. The second person I chose was Alexander McQueen. May he rest in peace. I think he's a fashion genius. There's a great documentary that was released in 2018. I think it's simply called McQueen. If you haven't watched it, I strongly recommend it. I think for his time in the 90s, he was just revolutionary and controversial, and someone that really made an impact on the fashion industry. And I just found him to be such an interesting designer. And if you haven't seen his last runway show before he died, it is absolutely phenomenal. It's fantastic. I just think it's stunning, and I strongly recommend going and looking at that. But I would love to pick his brain, go and have dinner with him, pick his brain about the fashion world and the challenges that he went through as well, and just understand who he is as a creative. So the next person I chose was Nelson Mandela. I think this man is the epitome of resilience and strength, and I would love to sit with him, have dinner, and just pick his brain about what he's gone through, what he's learnt, and just what advice he would have. The other one is Beyonce. For obvious reasons, I am a big Beyonce fan and would love to spend some time with her as well, particularly as a creative of the music world. And I've also put down as my 5th one, RuPaul Charles. So for those of you who might not know RuPaul Charles is a world famous drag queen. He was probably coming through the 70s and the 80s during a time where drag queens were probably less common and not in the mainstream, very much underground, and you would have nightclubs that would have drag shows and things like that. He really modernized and made mainstream the drag queen world. He started the TV show called RuPaul's Drag Race, which some of you might have heard of before, but it's all on Stan if you're ever interested to look at it. But I would love to sit down with RuPaul and just catch up with him, talk about the world that he's created, because it's phenomenal, and the path that is paved for the queer community and drag queens out there is just great. So love to catch up with him. Celebrity hall pass. So I have a Michael B. Jordan, who I just think is a very handsome man. I would happily drop my partner for Michael B. Jordan. He's just a stunning man, and I would love to spend time with him. And I've also put down Harry Styles, who I just love his style. I don't know if he's, as a person particularly, has a big personality, but yeah, I think he's handsome. I like his style, I like his music, so why not? 3 celebrities that I would want to drink with at the pub. So I've put down some from the people I'd like to have dinner with. So I've put RuPaul Charles, Alexander McQueen, and Beyonce. I would love to just even have a drink with them and just hang out and chat. And the last one, so you're going to spend the next 12 months on an island, and you can only take 1 book, 1 movie, 1 TV show, and 1 album with you. So I've selected as my book The Alchemist. So this book is very much about self-discovery. I love this book. It's one of my favourites. I could probably read it over and over, so I think that is probably the safest one. And because I'm stuck on an island, I would probably want a book that I can keep reading over and over again, so I would pick The Alchemist. The movie I would take would be Avatar. I think Avatar was a great movie. I loved it. Can't wait for the second one to come out at the end of this year, I think. The TV show that I would pick would be Friends, because there are lots of seasons of Friends, so that will probably see me through that 12-month period with no issue. And the album I've selected is Beyonce's Renaissance album. That's my jam currently and loving it, so love to sing and dance to some Beyonce on this island as well. Well guys, that's the end of this video inside the YouTube studio by Meredith, Living Lux with Meredith. If you guys enjoyed this, please don't forget to comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the answers to my questions. Hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell as well, so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. So thanks for watching guys, and talk to you soon. Bye.